All right, so good evening, everyone.
Let's get the mic ready.
I'll call this meeting of Hamtramck City Council to order, and unfortunately, we don't have a quorum today, but we will go over the presentations and proclamations, and we will prepare for a meeting next Tuesday, assuming that we will have a quorum by then. So we'll start. Today is March 14th, 2023, and it's 7:07 p.m. Would the clerk call the rules, please?
So Councilman Chowdhury,
Here.
Councilman Mahmoud,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Al Samiri,
Yes.
Mayor Galib, present. We do not have Councilman Rafai or Councilman Hassan, so like you stated, we don't have a quorum.
All right, let's rise for the pledge of
Pledge
allegiance.
allegiance.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America
and
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, with indivisible and liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And community announcements.
I just have one, Mayor. This is an early invitation, but I'd like to get it out there. So it is one of those Bangladeshi organizations, Silet Shodor Dokkin Shurma Association of Michigan would like to invite you to annual iftar dinner, which is on Sunday, April 2nd, 2023 at 6:30 at Gates of Columbus. So we are inviting you all to join us for the breaking the fasting on the Ramadan month, April 2nd, 2023 at 6:30. I will remind it again. Now it's coming up, the fasting month. That's all from me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Chief, go ahead.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to let everyone know that, as you know, that we have been working hard on recruiting police officers, reserve officers, and dispatchers. The Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police actually created a recruiting video, and they allowed departments to personalize those at the end by adding our logo, and they created a QR code for us that people can scan with our phones, and we also have the city's website on there. So it's on our police Facebook page, and the city administration uploaded it on the city's website under the police department. Feel free to share it from the police department's page, and just trying to get the word out there that we continue to hire and police officers, reserve officers, and dispatchers.
Thank you. That's
Thank
good to
you.
know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
also on the community announcements, you may note that we've started adding some things to that as well. If anyone wants to periodically check that. The Board of Review announcement is still on there. We are still taking applications for the Assessing Board of Review till the 16th, which is the last day. I put a notice on there that we were just awarded another grant for economic development. It's a big one. It's a 3-year full-time position for someone directly to work with economic development for the community, which will significantly help our community. I also added a thumbnail picture in regards to Spring Ramadan Food Drive on March 19th at 1 p.m. in the Town Center parking lot. And lastly, there's also a Hamtramck Parks Conservancy update loaded up there on well. I'm not going to go into detail because it's very lengthy, and the chair of the Conservancy, Mr. Majiark, actually prepared it. Very, very informative of the future of Veterans Park. So that's all I have there.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can you make an announcement about the charity basketball as well?
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget about that.
So, we will have the charity basketball game on the 17th of March at 7 p.m. in Dearborn High School. It was announced to be in Edsel Ford High School, but they changed it to Dearborn High School. And actually, it's between Hamtramck and Dearborn.
Wow.
Last year it was here in Hanley School in Hamtramck, and we won that game. So
Yes.
this
I was
time
there.
we're trying to defend our title. And but Mayor Hamoud is, so confident that they will win this game.
Are all the council members a part of it?
And they are invited to come.
Who plays?
The team, we have a team from Hamtramck.
Okay.
They want me to play, but I don't know how to play basketball. Unfortunately. I told them if I play, we will lose for sure.
That's what it should be. It should be
council versus
and
council,
mayors against each other. I think that'd be a great
They
opportunity.
want,
That'd be a
I
great
like-
charity event.
I like that idea,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah,
don't think
and-
it was
We're gonna try
coordinated
for
that
this time.
way.
We're gonna try from now and up.
I mean, I know how to play, but
So-
I
but
don't, but
it's
that's
just
the
that-
beauty of it.
of that.
So
It'd be
this is
entertaining.
This is the second annual, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I
Yeah.
mean,
That'd be
we'll
so
see where this
entertaining.
goes.
They actually want some people, some elected officials to play if possible. And the tickets will be $10 for adults, $5 for kids, and the money will go for victims of the earthquake in Turkey and Syria this time.
Just repeat that date again.
This Friday,
It's
Friday,
Friday.
March 17th.
Friday,
March
March
17th.
17th,
Thank you.
7 p.m. Yes, I'll be there. All right. Any more announcements? Okay, let's move to the proclamations, recognitions.
I'm sorry, sir, can we announce that we're going to have the special meeting?
Yes. So
He did.
I did in the
Tuesday?
beginning.
Yeah,
It's
it'll be posted as well.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
probably most likely next Tuesday at 7. So the proclamations, recognitions, and presentations. The first one is presentation, City of Hamtramck Annual Audit for fiscal year ending June 30, 2023, UHY.
Good
Good
evening, not
evening.
morning. Actually, we're presenting the audit for the year ended 6/30/22.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was like, yeah, that's what I thought. It's supposed to be 22. Okay.
Can we start with your vote?
Yes, yes. Yeah, my name is Marlene Beach. I'm the principal, first partner on this job. This is Jen. Jen is the senior manager that was on the job. She was actually the boots on the ground. She was the one here every day. I was the one that popped in occasionally. So as opposed to going through the financial statements in, page by page detail, what we do is we present, do a PowerPoint, kind of hit the highlights of things. So, and then if you have any questions, feel free to ask anytime. So, next page, please. As part of our standards, we're required to let the board know of, things that went on with the audit, what's going on, different communications. And again, that's what this presentation's all about. Next slide, please. The financial statements that you received, those are the city's financial report. The only part that is ours is the independent auditor's report. We did audit the financial statements of the governmental activities, the business type activities, the discretely presented component unit, and each major fund. So in theory, practically, we audited all the funds of the city of Hamtramck. As of the year end, June 30th, 2022, and your financial statements also include a lot of notes. You'll notice that the notes are now probably 3 times what the financial reports are. So, as detailed in our report, we did issue an unmodified opinion. An unmodified opinion is the highest opinion that we can give. Standards also require that we provide you with some information about our responsibilities under generally accepted auditing standard, as well as other certain information during the audit. The next page, please. The accounting policies, as I said, these are your financial statements, so that the management is responsible for the selection and use of the accounting policies along with the city. Those policies are summarized in note 1 of the audited financial statement. This year was a big year for GASB. It's GASB number 87, which was leases. What that did is any leases that the city leases to or from are now required to be on the face of the financial statements. Did not have a material effect to the financial statements here, but if from now on, if you lease anything or lease something to somebody, you will see it on the financial statement. So what it does is it kind of grosses up your assets and grosses up your liabilities. Net effect is almost 0, but it just increases both of those. As part of the financial statements, there are estimates made. The biggest estimate is your OPEB liability and the net pension liability. What we do is we evaluate the reasonableness, there we go, of those estimates. And we did find them all to be reasonable. We did provide The list of significant audit entries was provided to management as part of the management representation letter. Next page. We're not aware of the audited financial statements being included with any other documents. We're pleased to report we didn't have any disagreements with city management. Everybody's well aware, it was a turnover year. So everybody put forth a valiant effort. Number one, just, to find things. It's always difficult to find something that you didn't do or that you didn't put away. So we had management helping us finding records and things like that. And to our knowledge, there were no consultations with any other accountants during the course of the audit. There were no issues discussed with management prior to our appointment. The audit was a little bit late this year. As I said, the major factor was, the turnover. We normally start our audit in October. Just due to getting things done and completed, we weren't able to start the audit until November. During the course of the field work, the city kept looking at the financial records, which is, that's a good thing. It's always nice to have it ready when we get in there, but we knew, and everybody knew here, that because of the turnover, there would be things that would still be looked at. So there was about 34 different adjusting entries for various accounts. The required OPEB valuation schedules had to be reissued, and that delayed they weren't even available till mid-January. So once again, that goes on the face of the financial statements, so we had to wait for those to be correct and be updated so that we could issue correct financial statements. I'll let Jen go over a little bit of the charts. As I said, this is just kind of a general summary of the financial statements.
So since we're gonna be focusing more on the general fund is almost like the heart of the city. So I'm gonna highlight only the significant increases and decreases in the chart. So on the asset side, if you look at your cash and cash equivalents, there's almost 2.2 million increase there. The large part of it is coming from the money that the city received for the ARPA, which is the American Rescue Plan money. The standards require that any money received related to ARPA, or the state actually requires in the standard, that if anything has not been paid or expended out, it has to be retained in the books of the city as cash and also as unearned revenue. You'll see it later in the next slide on the liability side. There's also a large increase on the unearned related to the ARPA money. And then another large item in the asset section of the general fund is the receivables. The large part of it is coming from your CVTRS, or the state shared revenue. This year it went up significantly. So the receivable on the books as of June 30, 2022 pertains to the June funding, which is normally collected after like July and August. So, and there's also the income tax receivable aspect that's been booked in 2022. Next slide. So here, the liability side, if you look at there's a section that's called unearned revenue. The large money is coming from that ARPA. And then the other highlights there is the deferred inflows. If you look at the deferred inflows from 1 million to, from 200,000 to 1 million this year, it's all coming significantly from those, what do you call this, the grants and the receivable. So which means, what it means is like, if you have any receivables outstanding as of June 30, 2022, that's not been collected within the 60 days after your fiscal year end, it remains as a deferred inflows. And another factor on the deferred inflows is the impact of the GASB 87, which Marlene discussed earlier, related to the list. So there's a factor about, I think it's only about 115,000 of that is related to the leases. And then the other, the payables and other accruals also decrease this year. The large factor on the decrease is last year we did an accrual on related to the 3 properties with Sarah Garrett. because in the past year, in 2021, the Wayne County is only covering 300,000 of that, the three remaining properties. But I think in 2022, there's an agreement with Wayne County that they will be covering the entire three properties for almost approximately 950,000. So that accrual was reversed out in 2022 as it is no longer needed. So that's the large amount of the decrease there from 21 and 22. And another factor is the completion of the alley construction, which is approximately 440,000. Next slide, please. So on the general fund revenues, I'm gonna highlight with the first one is the increase in the property tax. Everybody knows that the taxable value increased, from 21 to 22. So that's basically the reason for the increase on the property tax. And then the state shared, as I explained earlier, the receivable went up, and so the revenue for the entire year also went up compared to last year. And another thing new in the state shared is the marijuana revenue sharing, which you guys don't have, which the city doesn't have it, I think last year. It started in 2022. And the fines and forfeitures also increased in terms of the revenue this year. Basically, the parking fines were implemented. You'll see also the impact of that one in the expense later on in the next slide. Income taxes also went up this year as compared to last year. There's been a tremendous improvement in terms of filing and collection follow-up. I think there was like additional people put into the income tax department to help out with the follow-up of the collection. But you will see the other revenue on that slide went down significantly, almost approximately 1 million. That's because of last year with all the COVID relief fund that was received by the city. Those were all spent last year. That's about 1 million, and which you were subjected to what we call the single audit last year, and that was didn't happen in 2022.
Can I stop you here? So it says last year, 2021, the income tax was 2.6, almost 2.7. And in your highlights here, it says it increased by 2.3 million, which will bring it up to 5 million, not 4. And in page 11 of your PDF, it listed as 5 million, but here it's listing as 4 million.
Where is that?
Previous one?
To the left,
2021.
income tax over there, 19%. So here in the large
In the
report,
financial, okay,
in
let's
page
check.
11, you will find it.
Here's the one.
It will say 5 million something. And in the highlights, it says increased by 2.3 million, which if you add it to 2021, 2.7 million will make it 5 million.
So income tax is almost 4.1.
But it says there in your introduction, increased by 2.3 million, and last year it was 2.7 million. That will bring it to 5 million. And it says in page 11 here, 5 million. So
Page 11,
page 11 in the long report, the audit report.
the audit.
Oh, the audit report.
Oh, okay. So this is the full accrual accounting. So what it does is the difference will be coming from when you do the general fund is calculated using the modified accrual basis. And then the page 11 is on the full accrual basis. So GASB requires the general fund to be converted to full accrual. The only difference between those two is the amount that's retained in the deferred inflows. Because what it is, those are receivables that you guys have not collected within the time frame of the standard, the 60 days. So in the general fund, if you didn't collect that within the 60 days, so it will be considered as a deferred inflow. So meaning you're not recognizing the revenue in the general fund. But in the full accrual, the standards requires you to recognize it as revenue. So that's approximately 900,000. So that's where the difference of your income tax on page 11 versus the general fund of 4 million. So it's just the way the standards, the accounting standards works it, like anything that you cannot collect within the 60 days, you cannot recognize it as your revenue under your general fund, under the fund accounting. But on the full accrual, standard says, oh, we're gonna recognize it right away as a revenue.
So we still can say it increased by 2.3 million.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yeah, it just didn't come in that time frame.
Yeah, in that
Okay.
time frame.
Okay.
Any receivables, which you will see also later on even the grants. If you have any receivable, let's say you spent it, you need reimbursement from the, let's say, the county, and you didn't get the collection or the receivable from them within the 60 days, in your fund accounting, which is in your general fund, whatever, the other funds, it will be reported as a deferred inflows.
Okay.
Meaning the state is saying it's not available yet.
Like,
for-
don't count your
Yeah.
chickens before they hatch. So the general fund is, if it's not there, it doesn't count yet.
And I seen in page 14, you listed it as 4 million something.
Yes, yeah.
But then when I was adding the stuff, it
As,
came up
yeah,
to 5
yeah,
million.
so you will see on our, there's also a reconciliation that is usually prepared as part of the financial statement, which is bridging from the fund level to the full accrual. Because the full accrual is almost like what you see like as a for-profit, you know, everything is recognized, there's no, it's just the way the GASB works, they have like this restriction in terms of recognizing revenue on the fund level. All right, any more questions? Okay. I think that's about it on the general fund, so let's go over in the general fund expenditures. So the largest increase here is the function on the public safety. I think there's a lot of movement within the public safety department. One of the factors that resulted to the increase are the ambulances. Peak hours also increased. That's about 230,000. And we've seen a significant increase in overtime. I think with not enough people in the public safety, the overtime with the demands of the of the service, so the overtime also increased on that aspect. So that's mainly the increase on the public safety. And then, but that also got offset with the general government. If you look at your general government, it decreased compared to last year. The large part of it, as I explained earlier, is the accrual that was done in 2021 related to that Sarah Garrett for the 3 properties. So this year in 22, that was reversed. So that decreased your expenditure in 2022. And also last year, the 2021 was the last alleyway reconstruction was completed in fiscal year 2021. So you won't see any capital project expenditure in 2022 for alleyway reconstruction. And then also in 2021, the last payment of the debt for the LGLP 2012 bonds, the last payment was made in 2021. So that's approximately 200,000 also. Any questions? All right. So we also discussed the water and sewer fund revenues. So in this case, the water and sewer operates like a for-profit, so it's recorded as a full accrual. But there's not a whole lot of movement with regards to the water and sewer fund. I think the main thing is the penalty and interest income that was received by the city. Those were suspended during the pandemic until I think 2021. So in 2022, that's basically the largest revenue for 2022. All right, and then the expenditure on water and sewer, you'll see an increase in operation and maintenance. This all relates to the lead line replacement projects. That's approximately about 930,000. So that's the largest increase in the expenditure for operations and maintenance. And another is the general and administrative increase. From our review or from our audit, we've seen an increase in professional services related to a jet vac operations, plus some consulting fees as well. And also there was like, I think one of an SRF 7603, which will happen in 2023, we started having those issuance costs, or what you call the debt issuance costs. So that should, since the water and sewer is operating as similar to a for-profit, so that's already recognized as an expenditure for this year. Next slide. So we're also required to report internal control over financial reporting. So in conjunction with our audit of the financial statements, we consider the city's internal control over financial reporting as a basis for designing our auditing procedures for the purpose of expressing our opinion on the financial statements, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the city's internal control over financial reporting. We are required to communicate in writing to those charged with governance all material weaknesses and significant deficiencies that have been identified during our audit. The definitions of the material weaknesses and significant deficiencies on the back on the next slide. So basically, a material weakness is it's a deficiency or a combination of deficiencies in internal control, such that there is a reasonable possibility that a material misstatement of the entity's financial statement will not be prevented or detected and corrected on a timely basis. The difference between material and significant, it's also another deficiency, but it's severe enough that we have to report it to those charged in governance. So next slide. So basically, after our audit, we can probably skip this slide to, it's the same thing as the first one. So during our audit, we found, I think, 3 material weaknesses. As part of the audit, the first one is the state grant reconciliation. This one we noted numerous financially distressed cities, villages, and townships, which is what they call FDCVT grant, that were long outstanding since, I cannot remember, 2021, 2020, probably, yeah. So since this year it became material, so we have to report it as a material weaknesses. So management response with regards to this one is the city has actively pursued reimbursement as invoices were received and amendments to the agreements were approved. So I know that the city already filed those long outstanding receivables, and I think sometime in October or November when we were out here. So, and then the next one were, during our walkthrough, we usually do our walkthrough, assess, control in terms of the different processes or the key controls of the city. So during our walkthrough, it was noted that bank reconciliations were not completed timely. We recommend that the city ensure all bank reconciliations to be completed within 6 weeks of month end. Management already have a response with regards to that one. Management recognizes the need for timely reconciliations in 21 and 22 fiscal year. The lack of timeliness occurred during key employee transition, which is, we normally see it when there's like a significant turnover within the Department of the Finance. So I believe this has been addressed already and up to date.
Yeah, I think I can attest to that your current on our bank recs, and we are working on February this month. We are almost done with February. So
That's been it, yeah.
So yeah, we are current on that.
All right. So, and then the last one is, during our review of the OPEB valuation report, it was noted that the plan benefits were not in line with the current collective bargaining agreements. As a result, the initial actuarial valuation reports needed to be updated prior to the completion of our audit, which is was what was discussed with Marlene, another factor that was why the report was delayed, or the audit report was delayed. This caused the audit timeline to be delayed. We recommend that management review all current CBAs and ensure they are in line with the OPEB plan benefits. I believe this has been also addressed by management and is working on looking into the COM CBA. So we recommended, management responded to our recommendation. And then we also have some other recommendation. This is just a recommendation. It's not, we don't call it as a material weakness or significant deficiency. This is with regards to the delinquent personal property tax collections were not being distributed timely to the various taxing units. I believe this is also been addressed currently by management, and they have made their response. The delinquency have now been all caught up, and this was also a result of staffing related issues. Upcoming gas fees for next year would be something that needs to be looked into by the finance, is the GASB 96. This will be similar to the leases, GASB 87. This is all related to a subscription-based information technology arrangements. So the impact of that also will be putting it into the balance sheet, which is the asset also, and then the liability, if in case you guys will be subjected to this GASB. So that's something that needs to be watched out by the finance department as well. Next slide. I think that's about
it,
it.
yeah.
And our contact information is there, and they know where to find us.
Anybody else have any other questions, or, that's a great question,
You
on
know-
modified
Yeah,
accrual,
right.
by the way.
I also noticed something that I couldn't understand. It says their expenditure decreased by 62%, and they were putting large numbers, like from 28 million to 10 million. What was that? I don't know what was
Where
that.
would that be?
It's in the long report.
Is that the management, for the first part of it, the MDNA
Oh, so-
section?
Yeah.
So that's the first part of it is normally written by management. So that's that's the analysis of the management, but we can look at that.
Yeah, and you see, this part of it deals with the
Full
the city as a whole, so it's all the divisions, it's the full accrual as opposed to the general fund, which again is that we have two bases of accounting. So what most of the time, the MDNA discusses the city as a whole. So you will see the bigger swings, whereupon when we were presenting, we were specifically looking basically at your general fund and your water and sewer fund.
Okay.
So that's why you'll see a swing here that maybe is larger in your MDNA.
That's the balance sheet position.
Mhm.
So, and you're counting all the funds, not just the general fund.
Not just the
So
general
you've
fund.
got the general fund, you've got the major roads, you've got the local roads, you've got the sewer and water funds. So these are some of the major funds. So when you add all of that up, and you look at the change in, because basically, balance sheet is a change in position from a point in time. So you're basically comparing two positions from two different dates. And so you just see that swing going from one to another. So it's a change in point in time.
Okay.
And also take note on the government-wide as a whole, this is where the standard requires you to book your net pension liability and your OPEB liability. Those are long-term liabilities that are not on the fund balances.
Exactly. So that 55 million or 56 million almost is the net pension liability. That's on the
That's a
balance
large,
sheet.
yeah.
Okay.
So that's why you're looking at these big numbers. So if you take out that liability,
Out.
the numbers will shrink like crazy.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
And those numbers, nobody has control over it.
Yeah.
They're just liability
Yeah.
based on
Yeah.
actuarial values.
Mhm.
You mentioned the revenue from the marijuana, which is 200,000. You did not mention the revenue from the parking meters.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
there
the
any-
parking meter, I don't
Yeah.
have the
Do we have
breakdown.
any numbers?
Hold on.
Yeah, what's somewhere there?
You
114.
mentioned something about parking.
Yeah, the parking,
Oh, you mentioned
more
parking.
on the expenditure on the parking,
Are you
I
sorry?
think the new parking, in terms of the expenditure, we spent, the city spended on the general fund about 827,000. But the parking, I think, is falling through the, fines and forfeitures, yes. But I don't have the actual detail because normally we lump it together. We can probably get that to you, to see, the exact amount of the parking revenue.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
Mr.
it's,
Chair.
but it's
I-
lumped with the fines and forfeitures.
Thank you for your presentation, UHY. You mentioned something in the presentation that you don't have a financial statement. When will you have it, or did I miss something here?
This is the financial.
No, financial
This is the
statements.
financial statement,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, we just didn't present, yeah,
It-
these
this-
are, yeah, these have already been submitted to the state of Michigan, and management
Okay.
has some,
Yeah,
This is this thing,
This is the
numbers.
financial
yes,
statement.
yeah.
Sure. And so that's why I'm referring to if I can have the copy, if I
Oh, no,
may.
no, this
It's an email to you.
It's in email too.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So, and second questions to the related, the personal property tax delinquent staff related, what does that mean? Like, did we not have a staff to work on it, or? No.
What was the question?
So
You mean
the
the delinquent,
property tax, personal property taxes, it was up there?
in one of the recommendations? I
Yeah.
think it's just the timing of, to distribute it to the different taxing units. I believe that it has been
It's-
addressed already.
Already happening, so.
W-
This wasn't the general property
Okay.
taxes, this
Yeah,
was just.
this was just the-
Another
I
portion.
So basically,
I see.
we collect property taxes, not just for city of Hamtramck, but for some of the other,
Mhm.
entities. Now, those entities could be, some of the money that goes into the library fund, some of the money that goes into, Highland Park and things like that. So we collect on behalf of that, and then we have to submit that or remit that back to those entities. So basically what they're talking about is that they need to be sent to them on a timely basis.
Mhm.
So because we had
A
such a huge
transition.
turnover and
see.
we had no
Mhm.
people
Yep.
to do that, so we have now taken care of that, and now things are being transferred on a timely basis.
Um, Thank you, that makes sense. And you have audited this department and you did not find any error, any issues? Our new CFO joined and like everything is normal, everything he's working fine?
Well, we only audited up till June
June
30th, we
30th.
don't really look
Yeah.
at the,
That's the next year.
That's the next year.
So he's doing great then, everything's good.
Now you're gonna find out, he said next year.
We'll
We'll
find
find
out.
out.
But we'll find out next year
when we
then.
do the tax, so, correct.
Okay.
So,
That's it, thank you.
Thank you so much.
thank you.
All right.
Thank
But
you.
if things are back to normal, that's already working.
Yeah, he gave you some update and everything ahead of the game.
That's good.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
All right,
Going to Hennessy. I don't have my.
the next one is presentation infrastructure overview, Hennessy Engineers.
Mr. Mayor, we have Tiffany with Hennessy.
Hello, Tim.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Hello.
We're ready.
Yeah, you cut mine short.
I'm just gonna
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, city council members. So tonight's the infrastructure overview on what we've done in the past year and upcoming projects. So push your next. So completed and upcoming water main projects. So from October 2021 to December 2022, we replaced 356 lead service lines. So that was a pretty good accomplishment. We're up to 524 to date. Still many more to go, but we're getting there. For water main projects, we've, as you guys I'm sure have seen around the city, spent a busy couple of months around here with water main replacements. So Kniff Avenue from Conant to Buffalo, Dan Street from Joseph Campo into the park, and then Joseph Campo looping on Denton West to Denton East. Is the best way to explain that one. Those have all been completed or just we're in the final stages of wrapping those up and getting the restoration completed on those. So I kind of mark those as completed. And then for 2023 water main replacements, we're about to kick off. I think they probably already have detours out there for the Kniff Avenue Phase 2, the Joseph Campo to Conant water main replacement. And then we'll be going out to bid here soon for Prescott from Conant to Ellery, and then a little bit down Ellery to connect into that new Kniff Phase 1 project to get that water main looped. And then you guys kind of screwed up my thunder here, because 2024 water main projects I was going to discuss during our SRF public hearing, but since we got to put that on pause, I don't have that on this slide, but I can give you a quick rundown of that. So our plan for that is for 2024, obviously more lead service line replacements. We're going to be doing those for a few years. DSMI, so the DWAM grant got us the first 119 verifications. We still got to try and finish out the remaining 238. And then Goodson Street from Joseph Campo to Lumpkin Street, which will be looped in with that Phase 1B sewer relief project. Casimir from Joseph Campo to Conant, Comer from Joseph Campo to Conant, Comstock Gallagher to Conant, or Poland from Lumpkin to DeQuinder, and Belmont from Conant to Alpena. So I know it sounds like a lot. We're putting in, as you guys will hear during that public hearing, a pretty good wish list trying to get additional grant funding. So more to come on that. So completed an upcoming alley project. So in 2022, we completed 7 alleys. So those are outlined there in orange. And then currently we have 2 more slated to get finished up under that contract. So those are up there just north of Kniff on the west side of Joseph Campo. And then pending how much funds we have left to complete more alleys, we'll get some additional alleys selected and completed. As far as road projects, so 2022 we completed Hamtramck Drive and we started to begin the bike lanes. So I know there's some confusion there, some questions there on some of the decals rubbing off. So I just want to make sure you have that understood that those were temporary with the winter months coming up. So that will be finished up this spring. And then in 2023 we'll be doing Kniff from Conant to Buffalo, so the area that we just did the water main replacement. That's why it's critical that obviously we replace what's underneath the ground before we replace the road, because we don't want to be breaking up brand new pavement for a possible water main break. So kind of going in that same circle, in 2024 we're looking to do, in 2023 we still have some more road resurfacing that we're currently in the process of surveying right now, getting design done so we can get those projects out to bid and completed this year. And then in 2024 we have the Kniff from Joseph Campo to Conant project scheduled, as well as the Goodson Street from Joseph Campo to Lumpkin will get done with that sewer and water project, as long as that gets out to bid successfully this time and pending the SRF loan funding. So just a summary of projects by year. So 2022, obviously the Kniff water main replacement, lead service line replacement, we were able to do that under the DWF loan, which did get us that 30% replacement grant. road projects were Hamtramck, that was done through that, TAP grant, along with those bike lanes. So again, road resurfacing, we do have the CDBG grant that got done, 2 alleys plus, 7 additional alleys under the, I think it's the Michigan Economic Development one. In '23, we're looking to, finish up some more of the DWRF grant, that we got for the lead service line and water main replacement. We received the ARP grant, 100% funding for Prescott water main replacement, and then TAP grants for the road projects. And then 2024, we do have the TAP grant for the Kniff reconstruction, and we're hoping to secure some more grants to the DWRF loan for the Relief Sewer 1B, as well as the water main replacement projects and lead service line replacements. So, pending any questions, that's all I have.
Needless to say, there's gonna be a lot of construction this summer.
And until next year. And
Yeah,
beyond.
It's, obviously the city needs it, it's something that we really need to,
Yeah.
the age of our infrastructure is old. So, and we really have to look at repairing what's underneath, and unfortunately, that's what nobody sees.
Yeah.
But just getting, the citizens to understand that, water main replacement is critical. Obviously lead service lines are huge to make sure you guys have clean, safe drinking water. And then, once we get that part done, then redoing the roads. Cause doing it backwards is just not gonna,
It's just
Yeah.
waste of money.
yeah.
Yeah.
This summer, you're gonna be hard pressed not to run into construction everywhere you turn.
Do you have more alleys coming to
It's coming.
a schedule?
It is 20.
So you
Yeah,
have much more.
we're putting in, we put in for some grants, so we're constantly seeking out grants, working with the vet, trying to get that stuff in.
Thank you,
So-
yeah, that's a very important for the city.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we completely understand that, so we're working hard to try and see what we can come up and get funding for that.
We still have some to finish, plus we have more to plan for the summer already.
Right.
We have various grants that we've already put out for now, and our
Mhm.
state rep is trying to get more money for more alleys as well.
Yep.
Bloodstream.
We've got half dozen or more resurfacing streets potentially for the summer. Not to mention, all the lead service lines, all the water mains, I mean, there's stuff gonna be going on everywhere.
I think
Right.
there's a huge amount of, infrastructure investment that needs to go into the city. And some of the biggest investment is going to be in the sewer system. And that is something that is going to require, tens of millions of dollars to, fix the sewer system.
Mhm.
So the biggest investment that we require is in the sewer, then the water and lead sewers line. The roads, alleys, streets, they should be the least of our priorities. Why? Because the things that we don't see are the real problem in the city. And that's what's creating, flooding, that's what's creating, health issues for, lead service lines and things like that. So I think we need to invest a lot of money and a lot more in the infrastructure underground first, before we fix, what's on the surface.
Tiffany, as I heard it that you're replacing a pipeline instead of one, putting 3 of the pipe
Just
Which-
talking about the
resolutions, which will save us $1 million next year.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
So on Kniff, between Joseph Campo and Conant, we currently have a 10-inch water main underneath the sidewalk, and we currently have a 6-inch water main in the road.
Mhm.
So the problem that happens is, obviously, we have old infrastructure, we get a water main break.
Mhm.
DPW can't, they don't know right off the bat, because there's 2 different water mains out there. Which one is it? Is it the 10-inch main that has a break, or is it the 6-inch main that has a break? So what we propose to do is replace both of them with one 12-inch line. Essentially, what it ends up coming down to is, if we had to replace both water mains, obviously, it's extra cost.
Mhm.
So by doing all of this, it's gonna essentially save the city about $900,000. So this is, in conjunction with DPW, working with them closely and making sure we come up with the best solution that works best for the city. So kind of have it in a phased approach, getting the water main in.
Mhm.
And then under our lead service line contract, we'll have that contractor come in, get the service lines tied into that 12-inch line. And then there's some residential side streets that we're actually gonna probably end up looping in those tie-ins during the road reconstruction or with that project, trying to minimize construction on that area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, our planning and zoning report, the gentleman is not here. There was a little miscommunication because he was aware that there was lack of quorum and didn't realize we were still doing the presentation, so we're gonna have to push that one.
All right, so we move to the Beautification Commission Annual Report for 2022.
Mr. Mayor, we have Ramana Levin with us.
Hello, everyone. This will also be short. I've presented a report, I believe, last week, that some of you have seen, but this was more of a presentation. The report that I submitted talks about what the beautification did on a month-by-month basis, but I wanted to take an opportunity and talk a little bit about who we are, what did we do last year, and what did we learn, and how we need your help. So, can I have the next slide, please? Can I go to the next slide? Thank you. Most of you already know the Beautification Commission, so the main function of our commission is to make sure that our city is safe, green, and clean for our city members, right? And there's a lot that comes underneath. There is the name of the members who are I currently serve as the chair. So once we first formed last year, one of the things that we first learned is that we didn't know who we are. People thought Beautification Commission was more about flowers and streets and gardens. Then we learned that it was a lot more than that. As you see, like sanitation, water safety, a lot of that is under the commission. So last year, we really kind of educated ourselves into what are some of the functions, and then how can we impact the city. Can you go to the previous slide?
Yes.
Thank you. Some of the highlights of 2022. So the first thing that we learned last year was, in order to solve our city's problem, to make our city safe, to make our city green, we needed a diverse commission, and our commission was not diverse. When we looked around, we did not look like how our city looked like. So the first thing we did is we started recruiting. We did recruit two new commissioners, but we still have one vacancy that we need all of your help to help us recruit. Once we kind of had a commission, we last year had 7 quorums, which I would say is kind of good for some of the other commissions in the city. Once we started meeting and we recruited, we quickly learned that we didn't really have a good guidance as a commission, like, okay, what do we do now? You know, okay, we keep the city safe, what does that even mean? So we kind of led some scoping exercises where we identified where are some of the areas that we can impact the city. And we quickly learned that the city kind of functions in a siloed way. Just us sitting as a commission, we weren't really able to get much done. We needed partners. So next we said, hey, we need to bring people of the community in our meetings. We started doing outreach, and we started inviting community partners to our meeting. Some of the people that we invited was Hamtramck Parks and Conservancy. We met last week with the high school students of LEAP to talk about sustainability, how we can bring recycle to the city. So those are some of the efforts that are going on. Couple of initiatives that we are currently working on that we would love more effort and idea. Number one is thinking of a trash pilot program. One thing that unites, we have a lot of division as well as diversity in the city, but one thing that unites everybody is trash, right? Like trash is everybody's problem, but it's such a big problem. So one of the things we want to start doing is ideating on ways, how can we do something small? Some of you might have read the trash and litter DDA report that Max gave. Like one of the things that we learned is 60% of our litter is cigarette butts. So that is somewhere that we can start. If we know that 60% of our litter is cigarette butts, maybe we can have a pilot program that addresses that specific issue. Another thing that we are looking into is filter usage. As you know that we have an action level of lead of 17. The EPS current recommendation of lead in water is 0. We did a good job of giving filters, but we have no idea how our residents using these filters. Are they even changing them? Are they using them? So that could lead to lead exposure. So we are collaborating with the Urban Planning Department of Wayne State to do a survey to understand how our residents are currently utilizing filters. Are they using properly? And then the next phase, we're gonna talk about how can we educate our residents in better filter usage. And we're also working on a tree planting initiative. So these are some of the things that our commission is currently working on. Any questions so far? Great, next slide.
Next, or this one?
Oh, the next
Next one.
one, that one, thank you. Now that we've kind of told you a little bit what we did last year, what are some of the things that we learned, we have some recommendations. I think one of our biggest things that we learned is we cannot achieve anything in silos. We would definitely love more of collaboration from our mayor, from our city council, to even figure out how do we solve some of these problems? How do we figure out trash? How do we even start with recycling? We would also like to recommend that we implemented some of the recommendation from the trash and litter study. For example, like some of the trash bins don't have lids. You know, there are some things that we can immediately start working towards and maybe help us figure out some of the bigger issues, like what do we do of the issue of litter. We would also like to identify opportunities to pilot a recycle program in the city. We are working with the high school students to kind of figure that one part out. And we would also really like your help in helping recruit the 2 vacant seats. I cannot stress this enough that we need a diverse commission, because especially when we're talking about trash, there's a lot of assumption that we don't have data behind. So we'd like all of your help in helping us recruit those vacant seats. That is all that I had for all of you. Any questions? Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll give you a claps because you worked during the summer and tried to beautify
Yes.
the city, and you
The
did a
Select
great job.
Community Garden.
Yeah,
Thank you so
I'll
much. Well, you are a gardener over there, so we really appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move to the next one, which is City of Hamtramck. Oh, that's a proclamation, City of Hamtramck recognizing the observance of Ramadan. Rana, would you like to read it? Thank you.
City of Hamtramck recognizes the observance of Ramadan. Whereas millions of Americans practice Islam, an extraordinary mosaic of ethnic, linguistic, ideological, social, economic, and religious groups. And whereas in representation of the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, Ramadan was established as a holy month for all people of the Muslim faith. And whereas during the holy month of Ramadan, Muslims focus on devotion and service to God, purging themselves of impure thoughts and motivations counter to Islam, and prayer, family reunions, and sharing of generous evening meals. And whereas Muslims gathered in celebration of Eid al-Fitr at the end of the holy month of Ramadan. Now therefore I, Amr Ghalib, Mayor of the City of Hamtramck, hereby recognize the observance of the holy month of Ramadan, a month of reflection and prayer for the Muslim community. Signed, Mayor Amr Ghalib.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, so we're done with the proclamations and presentations, and we move now to the public comments, and I would like to hear from the public who are here, if anyone wants.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe the only public comment we have tonight is the one and only Mr. Bill Meyer.
You get all those extra time today.
No one else.
I said you get all those extra time.
Nice.
Yeah, so I get,
Were you playing baseball?
that was my keyboard.
Oh, piano. Sorry.
So I think we should give more credit to our cameraman who's doing a great job filming
Right.
these meetings. They're way better than the $11,000 we paid for all this equipment. And
Okay.
so we could maybe give him a chair. Wouldn't that be nice if he had a chair so he'd have to sit on the windowsill?
Sure.
So
It's a nice one.
thank you for doing a great job and not charging us $11,000. Now all we gotta do is get someone to donate the sound system, because when the room's filled, people behind can't hear people talking at this space.
That's true.
So this is a much better meeting when it's not formal. I mean, I like it when you all just can talk when you want. So do I still have 2 minutes or 3 minutes?
You can request for extra
2
minutes.
minutes and 15 seconds.
All right. So I'm here basically to, sorry. So I'm here basically to celebrate the return of our lovely, beautiful, courteous, and intelligent superintendent of public schools. Miss Jalila Ahmed is back. She's been gone for a long time, sort of enforced exile while they're trying to find out if she committed a crime, which they can't find, so I guess they had to bring her back. She's a beautiful person, very compassionate, and she's gonna try to help get the school system back on the track again. So One Hamtramck has sort of set up a welcome back Zoom meeting tomorrow. So if anyone wants to join us and give your best wishes to Jalila,
What time?
it's at 6:30, and I have the scan here, or you can go on the One Hamtramck Facebook page, and the link will be there. One Hamtramck, O-N-E Hamtramck. I have flyers if you want to pop in and say a couple of words to her and thank her for persevering and sticking to the job and coming back and trying to do it right. There's people, I mean, it's much more complicated than that, but we're gonna have a fun time tomorrow and thank her for her work. 1 minute, okay. I don't really have anything else to say. So,
You sure?
yeah.
Are you positive?
Give me the 1 minute.
Sure.
All right, thank you. And I guess we are done, right?
Yep, all done?
Today,
Thank
yeah.
you. Good night.
Run, I can wait.
Good night. Farewell. Arrivederci. Bon voyage.